We're still in Ohio.
No, we're in West Virginia.
Why do all the signs look like Ohio?
No, you know what? I don't know if we're in West Virginia or not.
We're in Ohio.
Turn right on Main.
That's how Ron got arrested.
And the weekend is so young. I was really hoping you were going to get arrested dressed like Batman on top of C3, but you know.
That would be awesome. Giant hamsters.
Hello. Welcome to the first episode of the Dead Mall Tour. I am your cruise director, Kristen, and this is the Century 3 Mall, filmed September 1st and 2nd, 2018 at the Dead Mall Summit in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. We got together with a bunch of other content creators from the Dead Mall and vintage retail community, including Jack from deadmalls.com, Ace from Ace's Adventures, Sal from the Expedition Log series, Nick D of the Caldor Rainbow, Wally B26, Anthony from Faded Commerce, Blackwatch Plaid, who makes the Raw and Real retail series, and several others. We were really honored to be included in the event, and we had a once-in-a-lifetime experience getting to film and network with all these great people. To say we had a blast is an understatement. We really had a killer time. The large mountain you saw to the right as we were driving in is a mountain of slag, a byproduct of steel manufacturing. It was dumped here during the first half of the 20th century and ceased in 1969. United States Steel Realty Partners had the idea to partner with retail developers to build a mall on the site and worked with the Edward J. DeBartolo Group to build what would become the largest mall in the tri-state region and the third largest mall in the world in 1976. To build the mall, workers had to use jackhammers to break through the layers of slag, discovering discarded industrial equipment and chunks of iron in the process. There were abandoned coal mines below the build site, and concrete had to be pumped underground to fill the empty tunnels. It is estimated that there was more concrete used to fill the old mines than there was to build the massive mall. What prompted all this interest in this particular mall was that on September 4th, the day after Labor Day, Century 3 Mall was set to go up for sheriff's sale because the owner, Moonbeam Capital, had defaulted on their loan on the property. This did not end up occurring because Moonbeam's subsidiary, which actually owns the mall, filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy at the 0 hour. The sale has now been postponed for December, which means Century 3 has been granted a stay of execution, for now. Even since Tuesday, Bath & Body Works and Smoke Wizard, two of the only 11 tenants remaining, have announced plans to leave. There's no telling just how empty this mall will be by the time December 3rd rolls around, but it wasn't always like this. The mall opened in two phases, the first of which was on October 25, 1979, and the second phase opened on March 12, 1980. The original anchors included JCPenney, Gimbels, Kaufmann's, Montgomery Ward, and Sears. 3 of the 5 anchors also included auto centers. It included 35 eateries, including 21 food court stalls. Overall, once fully opened, the mall included over 200 stores and services. The first change in the lineup came in 1986 when Montgomery Ward left and was replaced by Horns. In 1988, Gimbels would close and would not go on to be occupied again until 1993. During the 1990s, the mall would begin its slow descent into the state it is in now due to a few factors. There is intense competition in this region due to saturation of malls. That's part of the reason that Pittsburgh was chosen for all of us Dead Mall folks to meet there. There were a ton of malls in various states of vitality within an hour of Century 3. We could have spent a week there filming, and a few of our new friends did just that. Century 3 lagged behind many of its competitors in terms of updating and maintaining a modern appearance. By the early 1990s, the mall's look was very much still that of one that opened in 1980. There was also a public perception that the area and neighborhood safety and crime rates had deteriorated. As we found with other properties, it doesn't matter in many cases whether this is true or not. If this perception exists, it will keep people away. In 1993, the former Gimbel space was subdivided into a Marshall's on the top level and partially into a TJ Maxx and more on the bottom. The remaining space is split between a Ruby Tuesday and 2 other small inline tenants. Century 3 was purchased by the Simon Property Group in 1996, and by 1997 had received an $8 million facelift to its floors, ceilings, fixtures, and storefronts to modernize and bring the appearance of things up to date. Marshall's closed later that year, and Lazarus, who had purchased Horns, closed in 1998. The Waterfront, an outdoor mall with 1 million square feet of retail space, opened in 1999, compounding Century 3's problems of drawing shoppers. The former Lazarus space was occupied during this period by Kaufmann's Furniture Gallery, which drew far less foot traffic than its predecessor. The inline tenants surrounding it and on the third floor leading from that wing to Sears began to make their exit. During 2003 and 2004, TJ Maxx and Wix Furniture left the former Gimbel's space to be replaced by a Dick's Sporting Goods, who still exists today, and a Steve & Barry's. Additional competition came for Century 3 in the form of a second brand-new outdoor mall called Southside Works. Between 2004 and 2006, the vacancy rate at Century 3 slid from 20% to 30%, which is a decrease of nearly 20 tenants. In 2009, Century 3 was listed in U.S. News and World Report as being one of America's most endangered malls, alongside another mall we've covered, Town Mall in Middletown, Ohio. The furniture store that started as Kaufmann's and ended its life as Macy's Furniture closed its doors in 2009 and has not been occupied again to date. In 2011, Simon Property Group defaulted on its loan on this and several other malls in its portfolio. From September 2011 to May 2013, the mall was in receivership and managed by Jones Lang LaSalle. In May of 2013, it was purchased by the current owner, Moonbeam Capital. Moonbeam added a carousel in May 2014, as well as attracting a restaurant called Old Mexico to occupy the former Ruby Tuesday. Unfortunately, in 2014, Century 3's Sears location was among the first of many waves of Sears stores to close, and the occupancy rate dropped even more to 60%, and by the end of 2015 it had dropped to 40%. Moonbeam announced an ambitious plan in 2015 to demolish the former Sears and Macy's furniture wing. The wing it has barricaded for the remainder of the mall for the better part of the last 3 years, and turned it into an outdoor center. None of these plans, as you can see, have come to pass. Moonbeam is one of several property management companies nationwide who claim to specialize in distressed properties. Their reputation is not favorable. Their record of improvements to the state of a dead or dying retail property is poor. The purchase of a dead mall or other economically disadvantaged property is usually accompanied by tax abatements and other financial incentives, in anticipation of an improvement in sales tax revenues or an influx of new jobs to an area. Due to these subsidies, it's common for owners of malls such as Century 3 to pay little or no taxes on their real estate holdings. The rent is pure profit, even as the building their tenants inhabit crumbles around them. Moonbeam is notoriously strict about prohibiting photography and video in their properties. It makes you wonder what they don't want people to see, especially the cities and towns who are paying for them to let the status quo continue to deteriorate. In 2016, Macy's included their Century 3 location among their wave of store closings as well, leaving only JCPenney as the traditional store anchor remaining. In July 2017, the final food court tenant, Village Pizza, closed. By December of 2017, the mall's occupancy had dropped to 10%. As of this video, with the newly announced closures included, the occupancy rate of this mall has dropped to a desolate 4%, with no reprieve in sight. Did you hear something? The Netflix series Mindhunter completed filming scenes for its second season in the former Macy's Furniture Wing in April. The area occupied by filming has been barricaded off by a chain-link fence and a tarp. Well, I can't tell you exactly how we got in there. And now that security's back on the beat, I don't recommend it. I can show you a little bit of what I and a few other mall explorers got to see. I apologize that my footage is grainy, dark, and maybe a tad hard to see, but it was my first time venturing into forbidden territory, and the excitement and nerves affected my filming ability. All I can say is keep an eye on the channels for the other folks who are at the summit. More's coming, but I gotta plead the fifth until they release the footage themselves. This is a similar setup to what Netflix has done with Gwinnett Place Mall in Atlanta to create the Starcourt Mall, but on a much smaller scale. Since filming is completed, a lot of the things are gone now. It was really dark in there, and some of these storefronts were only dressed up on the outside for filming. One in particular, on the top floor with burnt orange carpet and a white wooden throne inside, was especially eerie. It had an odd burning smell. We also discovered what was once a storefront that had been divided off into small storage spaces for the remaining tenants. A few had signs on the outside that they were being used by Victoria's Secret and a few others, but this period no longer appears to be used by anyone. The only thing left in here were a few boxes of documents and a box of spilled, outdated cell phone covers from the early 2000s, back when phones had buttons. I guess whoever they belonged to didn't think they were worth coming back for. Perhaps in anticipation of the sheriff's sale, security on the day we were there was essentially absent. Maybe someone decided not to show up for what may have been their last day of work. After months of warnings about how strict and vigilant their policies were, all of us were prepared to operate in secret. Instead, Saturday ended up feeling like all of Peter Pan's lost children had taken control of Captain Hook's ship. We had free reign of the place and managed to get to see just about everything. Our trip to Century 3 was unprecedented, and I hope this is only the beginning for us on out-of-town adventures to share with you. We are branching out. We will be releasing footage from our visit to Pittsburgh Mills in 2 weeks, Sunday night, same time. If you have not done so already, please like and subscribe to our channel. We're growing at an incredible rate, and you're going to want to be here for what's next. Check out the description for links to the other channels who participated in the Dead Mall Summit, as well as a link to the official Dead Malls Discord, where you can chat with all of us and get the scoop on when Dead Mall Summit 2019 is taking place.
Century Square,
Yeah.
Century Ridge.
You know what's really funny is if they tear that down, like half the businesses around here are named Century something.
Yeah,
So like
kind of
if they were,
sad.
I mean, if they were to tear down Eastgate Mall, I mean, half the stuff around there is named Eastgate this,
I thought
Eastgate
that area was just named Eastgate.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's sort of like Coleraine Township. Like nobody on our side of town calls it Coleraine. They call it Northgate.
I call it Coleraine.
Or Tri-County. Like, Tri-County is not a neighborhood. It's Springdale, but everybody calls it Tri-County because it's the area surrounding the mall. So, like, do people around here just call this, like, Centuryville? Or, like,
I don't know.
Century City? Or...
Nobody knows.
But I'm curious. I'm curious now. Like, is this the thing? Just because I know what that behavior is in Cincinnati.
I don't know. If you're from this area, reply down in the comments. Let us know what, you locally call this area.
This is Kristen. My boyfriend and co-videographer and editor is Ron, and together we are UniComm Productions. We will see you at the next stop on the Dead Mall Tour.